Hey everybody, it's Cass in Court TV. It's your girl, Miss Public Info, here with the latest and greatest and sometimes hated updates of the most high-profile cases going on around the country. Happy Friday, everyone. Thank God it is here. We made it. As I say, every single Friday, we made it. Golf claps to us, okay? Oh my goodness. I cannot believe August is almost gone. We're almost done. I think we only have like a couple of more days after this weekend. So Sunday's the last day in August. Monday is September 1st. And then it is the countdown to my 43rd birthday. And I am excited about that. I can't believe that I'm going to be 43. I know like a lot of people who, you know, as we grow older, we're just like, we don't think of ourselves in this sort of way. I was saying to my mother the other day that 43 seemed a lot older to me when I was a kid versus now. And she's like, yeah, that's how it is for everyone. But really, I feel like 43 when we were growing up, I'm a millennial. So for the other millennials and probably some Gen Xers too, I feel like 43 when were growing up seemed it looked older. Like our teachers, our middle school teachers were 43, and they looked 43. they looked they looked how we felt 43 looked. And now that we're 42 and 43, and also I'm losing count. I was like, oh yeah, I'm 43. I was talking to someone and I was saying a few months ago, like, oh yeah, I'm 43. And when I was retelling this interaction to my mom, she's like, you're not 43, you're 42. So thank God mom understands and knows the push date and year because if not, I wouldn't even know how old I am now. Okay, so enough of that. Now let's get on to the business. We're going to cover two stories today. We're going to cover P. Diddy and another sexual civil assault being dismissed, actually. And then we're going to talk about the YSL trial and the Atlanta love story that came out of the 2 year Young Slob Life. That's what the YSL is an acronym for. The 2 year Young Slob Life trial that actually bloomed into a romance between a criminal defense attorney and her client. So let's get to it and let's get on to the business at hand here. Now, I'm only putting up this graphic to really just show the kind of sex assault cases that Sean Combs has been looking at. We're looking at what you're looking at here is sort of a list of um, some of the biggest allegations that have been against him in the civil trials. And some of these have been settled. A lot of these have been settled. Some of them have not. Some of them have been dismissed, or some of them have been settled quietly. So, we're looking at the Cassie of it all. We see the gang RAPing that whole thing. We haven't heard anything about that. We also haven't heard that there was a dismissal. So he could have settled that one quietly. That could be one that he settled quietly, the 17-year-old one, and the 17-year-old that was supposedly flown from, I believe it was Detroit, to see him in New Jersey in 2003. She also included in that lawsuit is her Harv Pierre, which of course he was a top level bad boy executive at the time of this incident took place allegedly. And then of course the Little Rod suit is still making its rounds. We haven't heard anything about Don Richard in a while, but she did give testimony in the trial. That one could be settled. We are not sure. And the list goes on. Of course, the woman that alleged that Sean Combs assaulted her sexually when she was 13, that has been sort of tossed because that included, well, actually, it hasn't been tossed. The part about Jay-Z being involved in that has been tossed, but we think that this one, as it relates to Sean Combs, is still sort of looming around. And then, of course, all the other ones. So a lot of these include Mr. Tony Busby. He's the attorney with on a lot of these, and this is no different than the case that I'm getting ready to talk to you about now that he supposedly or that he has brought forth that has been dismissed. Now, there is a California man who sued Sean Combs back in 2024, sometime last year, for an incident that occurred in 2015 where he was allegedly drugged and sexually assaulted by Sean Combs, allegedly. And so now he has been given a legal setback. Now, all of this, according to USA Today and also court documents that we have obtained, and the New York County Supreme Court judge ruled on the 26th. Then she issued a ruling that granted Combs's legal team's request to dismiss the case. Now this case came about actually not last year, but in February. Now that the judge in her answer said the following. She said the allegations are untimely under New York law. In essence, he's run out of time. He's run out of time to issue this case or to actually pursue this case civilly. The statute of limitation has cut off. The New York State law in effect at the time of the alleged conduct in 2015 provided a 5-year statute of limitations. This is what the judge's ruling said. And in quote, she says, although the statute was later amended in 2019 to extend the period to 20 years, the courts have upheld that this particular rule under the civil practice law and rules is not retroactive. So it was the amendment in 2019 extended to the period of 20 years if you had a case that happened within this block of time, right? It had to have started within this block of time. So the statute was later amended in 2019 to extend the period to 20 years, but the courts have upheld that this particular rule, which is Civil Code 213, is not retroactive. And I'm going to open this because I kind of want to take a look at this and what this actually means. And this is an action by victim of conduct constituting certain sexual offenses. So, action by a victim, this is what the code says. Action by a victim of conduct constituting certain sexual offenses, notwithstanding any other limitations set forth in this article, except as provided in subdivision B of section 208 of this article, all civil claims or causes of action brought by any person for physical, psychological, or other injury or condition suffered by such person as a result of conduct which would constitute RAPE in the first degree as defined in section 130.35 of the penal law, or RAPE in the second degree as defined in subdivision 4, 5, or 6 of the section 130.30 of the penal law, or RAPE in the second degree as defined in former subdivision. They have to do this, guys, because they have to be correct. But any of these claims that are brought by any person that the claim that is physical, psychological, or other injury or condition suffered by a person that is a result of first degree RAPE or second degree or APE, they're saying that certain that it may be brought against any party whose intentional or negligent acts or omissions are alleged to have resulted in the commission of the said conduct within 20 years. Nothing in this section shall be construed to require that a criminal charge be brought or a criminal conviction be obtained as a condition of bringing a civil cause of action or receiving a civil judgment pursuant to this section. So let me go back up here. I want to go back, and I'm sorry, I'm not showing you this, and perhaps I should so you guys can see what I am looking at here. because it's a lot of legal jargon, and I'm reading through it because I want to sort of explain why she's saying that this isn't retroactive. The judge is saying this isn't retroactive, and I just found it. I didn't find it before I came on, but here, essentially, what she's saying that it has to the act that this guy is suing under doesn't fit under the actual Survivors Act, which is uh this 20-year sort of block of time that they created in 2019, that what he's suing under is not constituted under the Survivors Act, and that this particular crime that he's talking about, or this particular act that he's talking about, um, is actually held under this 213 C code that you're looking at here, and that this is not retroactive, is what he's saying. No, what she's saying. She's saying basically that he had 5 years, he had until 2020 under the statute of limitations to actually file this case. He didn't file this case actually until February 3rd of this year. So he's 5 years too late. Now, Tony Busby, who is John Doe, the plaintiff in this case, his attorney, Tony Busby, said that this is not the end of the line for his client. But because he's saying it's not the end of the line for his client, because this case can be filed in California or New York. Now, New York has a saving statute, but the New York court says it doesn't apply, essentially. So Tony Busby says we will thus sue in California. This is a procedural issue. This is not one of dispositive. So this is not a dispositive issue. This is not something that has to do with the integrity of the case itself. This is procedural, just in terms of where we need to file that. And he goes on to say that any suggestion that this is some kind of victory for Combs is ignorant, is what he says. Now, the judge, though, she's saying that her ruling has determined that the action is untimely under both New York and California law, and thus the case must be dismissed as to all defendants. So the California Assembly Bill 2777 determined that until 2026, accusers actually may revive claims seeking to recover damages suffered as a result of an sexual assault that occurred on or after January 1st, 2009, that would otherwise be barred solely because the statute of limitations has or had expired. So essentially, there is a California Assembly bill on the books now that until 2026, someone who has had an sexual assault act uh, performed upon them, or has been an sexual assault act against them, that occurred after January 1st, 2009, that they can actually bring that case in the state of California under this California Assembly Bill 2777, and that this particular act may otherwise be barred solely because of the statute of limitations, or uh, has expired for some other reason. So this assembly bill actually overlooks what the judge is saying, and maybe it's quite possible because she is a New York state judge, and this is an assembly bill and not a federal rule that we're looking at here, that she did not or was not aware of this. And so Tony Busby is actually looking at that assembly bill and looking to file this under that assembly bill. Now, John Doe was described in his February lawsuit as a singer. He had sued Combs for sexual battery. He allegedly had a great business relationship with Sean Combs. He claimed that the alleged assault took place at an after party in LA when he was just 23 years old. He says that Combs had promised him a record deal and studio time with him, Sean Combs himself. And he goes on to say that in addition to derailing his career trajectory, that the alleged assault left John Doe with a series of personal damages, such as pain and suffering, mental anguish, physical impairment, and emotional torment. Now, at the time of the lawsuit's filing, Combs's attorney said in a statement, and they said to the following to USA Today, they said, Mr. Combs and his legal team have full confidence in the facts and the integrity of the judicial process. In court, the truth will prevail that Mr. Combs never sexually assaulted or trafficked anyone, man or woman, adult or minor. This is much more of the same that Sean Combs' team has been touting since the beginning. They have said since the beginning that he will be proven to be innocent in this situation, that he has done nothing wrong, etc., etc., etc. Now, this lawsuit is among the approximately 80 lawsuits, civil lawsuits that Sean Combs is looking at right now. A handful of them have been dismissed for various reasons, statute of limitation situations, or they were just deemed to be frivolous in terms of just not having enough foundational evidence to stand on. But there are a number of uh, legitimate civil lawsuits that are looming for Sean Combs. And according to Tony Busby, you've heard it here, that he is not going to back down on this one. He's not going to let the statute of limitations stop him. He says, listen, that is procedural nature only. We will be going after him in the state of California under this California Assembly bill, which expires in 2026. So I assume that they're going to be getting on the good foot and hitting this quite immediately. So of course, Combs is still in the Metropolitan Detention Center there in New York. I mean, they're in New York and Brooklyn, and he will have his day in court on October 3rd to learn what his sentencing is. Of course, he was found guilty of the two-man act charges. So that is that, guys, when it relates to Sean Combs for the day. I just think it's such a crazy situation. All of these civil lawsuits flying through the air. And again, when it comes to these civil lawsuits, there are definitely rules to the game. The Survivors Act only applies, and we saw it here in this lawsuit. It only applies to certain civil sexual assault claims. It does not apply to every single one of them. And so you have to get it right in order to be able to file. Okay, so let us move on. I'm laughing already. This is not funny, guys, but it kind of is, but it's kind of not. Okay. Let us move on to the YSL situation here. This is the true Atlanta love story. YSL attorney, the young Slav attorney, the young Slav life attorney, Shannon Jackson. She is expecting a baby, a son, with one of the defendants in the case. I'm sorry, her name is Kayla Bumpus, and the defendant's name is Shannon Jackson. They met during the 2-year YSL trial last year. Of course, you guys know that this trial included Young Thug. Young Thug was eventually wasn't acquitted, but he received a 20 years probation, and he was allowed to get out of jail after being on lockdown for quite a while during the process of the trial. And he had co-defendants, and one of the co-defendants is this guy, Shannon Jackson. I tried to I wanted to screenshot the photos, and I think I'm not gonna be able to screenshot them. I'm going to have to show you the actual photos from the website that I saw them on. But they had a maternity shoot, guys. They had a maternity shoot. It was very much like a a maternity shoot that you would expect to see in Atlanta with the, what do I call it? Ghetto fabulous life. Okay, that's what I'm going to call it. Let me share my screen here, because this is definitely ghetto fabulous. Okay, so This is the maternity shoot. This is Kayla Bumpus here. And then we have Mr. Shannon Jackson. Now, Shannon Jackson was actually found not guilty. He was acquitted of the charges against him in the YSL criminal case. So I guess Kayla Bumpus is a great attorney because she got him off. Okay. That's enough to start any love story up. I gotta tell you. Okay. So I got a little something on my teeth, guys. Let me get that off. So embarrassing when you have things on your teeth. Um, so like listen, guys, I know it is hard to find love. I know that it is hard to find love. I'm 43 and single, so I know how hard it is to find love. But not one day of my life working in law enforcement did I ever see anyone across the aisle on the criminal side that I felt like I wanted to get to know. Okay. Like this guy was acquitted for all intents and purposes. He is a law abiding citizen. A jury of his peers judged the situation. They said, listen, he didn't do it. And so I get that. And she has every right to move on in a relationship with anyone that she wants, if he be jailed, unjailed, or not. But the fact that he was acquitted is notable, right? So to her, she's like, well, this is my man. He was acquitted. I got him out. Listen, she wants to be with him. I get that. And we all have different, tastes in men, and I understand that. And I know that in Atlanta specifically, it is hard to find a man. I get that too. But my goodness, I mean, she didn't have any other options? Like, this is really interesting to me because I'm like, wow, she's an attorney. Like, she went to law school. She had to pass the Georgia State Bar. And depending if she's licensed in other states, she had to pass that state bar. Like, it is no easy feat becoming an attorney. It is also just no easy feat to study to become an attorney. This is a very, prided profession to be in. So I'm not saying that her profession, because she's an attorney, doesn't mean that she can't be with a man who uh isn't one, right? That's not what I'm saying. But I guess what I'm saying is, why would she choose someone who would be wrapped up in anything criminal like what we know the young Slav life case to be? Even though he was acquitted, he was part of the young Slav life gang because that's who they rounded up. So you're talking about a guy who's has a criminal past to some degree. He at least knows criminals, right? I get it. She wanted to find a man. She wanted to have a baby. She's probably, at that age, and she's just like, no, this is it for me. I'm just trying to figure out, when did they get a chance to talk about the case, because uh she is very pregnant in this paternity shoot here. Okay, let's move on. Now this is her and Mr. Jackson in the maternity shoot. I'm just trying to figure out why he couldn't have had on a suit to match, and she also has on a ring here, guys. So maybe they're also engaged. I don't know, but I'm just his wardrobe. I guess I'm concerned about his wardrobe. Like, why couldn't he have actually put on a suit or something like that to, to match the ambiance? Like, this is just really odd to me. And then of course this is him here. He looks like he's getting ready to play a record. So this is a personality photo with him. He loves his artwork, his body art. And then of course this is Miss Bupkis with her personal shoot there. This is just so interesting to me that she would have this going on. Um, oh no. Now, she's an attorney who specializes in criminal defense and personal injury law. She represented several clients with ties to the YSL trial. She frequently attended court hearings and even asked for her own Rule 22 to record proceedings at one point. She briefly represented Little Woody during a controversial ex parte meeting with Judge Jarrell Glanville that eventually led to the judge's removal from the YSL trial. So she's nothing to deal with. She's nothing nice. Like, she is a great attorney, apparently. She represented Diamante Kendrick's mom for a 2023 drug smuggling incident, which got dismissed. She then helped with other charges pending against Stillwell. Stillwell left court a free man in early December after the jury found him not guilty on all but one gun charge. And Judge Paige Whitaker gave him 10 years with only two to serve in jail, and it was credited to him for time served. The rest of his sentence was probation. So this woman, Miss Bupkis, attorney at law, is nothing to mess with. She is a great attorney. I just ran down some of the her vitals as it relates to cases that she has taken care of there in Atlanta. Now I'm going to read a quote. It says, "While our roles were very different, we are thankful that our worlds collided," the couple wrote on a contest blog. They're now expecting a baby boy this October. She this whole trial sparked a romance between her and Mr. Shannon Jackson Stillwell. Stillwell is this guy here, who the jury found not guilty of murder, RICO, and criminal street gang activity. They found him not guilty of that. And of course, I said down here, I said earlier, just a second ago, that he actually was given time served for the 10 years in prison that he got for that one gun charge. It was 2 years credited, and the rest of that sentence is an 8-year probation sentence. So, oh my goodness, this is really something. I don't know. It's none of my business, but I'm really just giving the news on this because I just think it's very interesting that a woman of her caliber would actually be in a relationship with someone that has these sorts of ties to gang activity and things of that nature, though he was acquitted of his involvement in certain crimes. But it's just very interesting to me. And I don't know that I would make that same decision. Certainly, when you work she's on the other side of the legal aisle. I was on the side of the district attorney's office. She's on the criminal defense side. So it's different. So, you're looking at your clients in a very different light. Obviously, she's on the money bag side as well, because, a criminal defense attorney, it pays pretty well in terms of private practice, that is, not PD. But to that point, it's just very interesting to me that she would make that decision. Apparently, when they were working on this case, they, sparked a relationship that she found to be valuable. So, strange bedfellows, but none of my business. But I'm just bringing it up because of the YSL, the popularity rather of the YSL trial, and the fact that, yeah, it also gives, I think, a little bit of credence to the fact that even for her, a woman who, of her education, of her intellect and aptitude, that even for her, there's not many options out here. Some people will argue me down on that. Y'all don't get mad at me in these comments about this, especially the fellas. Don't get mad at me in these comments about that, because believe me, there are, first of all, the ratio men to women, there are more women in the world than there are men. So that's the first thing there. And then secondly, there are less options, I feel, as a Black woman. There are less options, viable dating options for Black women in the dating world than there are for other women. That's just how I feel about it. And I'm sure other Black women feel that way too. And the reason for that is variable. There's a lot of variables to that. So they stem from community, the misplacement of Black men in the community. Some are incarcerated, but so are a lot of other kind of men. They're also incarcerated as well. But of course, it's no secret that incarceration of Black men in the community is higher than other communities, right? So, that's one reason. The other reason is you're talking about, social economics. So you have like her, she is a woman who is well educated. She's a woman who is financially sound as well. And so if you're looking for a Black male partner who is even with you on that, statistically, you might not find that as readily as other people in other communities. And so I guess she is following the school of thought of Tyler Perry, who got in trouble for saying that Black women should actually date lower, is what he said. He said that we should date or find men in the lower socioeconomic blue collar guys because we are the most educated here in the United States, the most degrees, um, and that we should actually find someone of lower uh, socioeconomic and education if we want to get married, especially within the Black community, is what Tyler Perry said. And he got in trouble for that. And I guess she took that to heart. But her also being in Atlanta also means a lot. And people in Atlanta or understand the, um, you know, the population there in Atlanta know what I mean by that. But hey, I'm in Los Angeles and I am also single. And so, and I'm probably on par age wise with her as well. And I don't have any children. So, I guess the same could be said for me. The difference is I just, I have a allergic reaction to dating people who have criminal issues. I'm not one of those people. I'm not one of those women who wants to date people who have a criminal background. Perhaps it's the DA's office in me that will not allow me to do it. All right, guys, that's it for Cast and Court TV for the day. This is your girl, Miss Public Info. I hope you guys have a great weekend. Stay cool outside, stay cool, stay safe, stay out of trouble. Please stay out of trouble. And come back to me next week. We'll have more cases, more commentary, and more, more, more. All right, guys, we'll see you later. Peace.